Good morning, YouTube. Okay, so in preparation for the Android application development course, I have decided to put together two videos for the Android JDK API install along with Java, everything you need in order to do Android development. And so the two videos, one is going to be for a demonstration on how to do it on a Mac. The other one is going to be for demonstration on how to do it on a Windows machine. I'm going to demo it on a Windows XP machine, and I'm doing it from a MacBook. However, I have a Windows Parallels desktop application installed for a virtual machine. What you're looking at in front of you is a Windows XP virtual machine that I'm going to install this into. So this video pertains to the Windows install, and the same instructions, well, same process, different instructions for both platforms. So if you're on a Windows box, you definitely found the right instructions for Windows. We're going to need three items. We're going to need the Java JDK, we're going to need the Android API, and we're going to need some sort of an IDE to utilize both of these, and I've chosen Eclipse as the IDE integrated development environment of choice only because it's really easy and it's free and it's quite nice. So we'll see. Actually, I'll demo it to you as well, so you'll see how that works. So let's get started. The first step is to download and install Java. I would check first to see if you have Java installed before going through the process of downloading it. It's really easy to check. Go to a DOS prompt, and I've created a little icon here on my desktop. You need both the JDK and the runtime JVM, runtime engine. So if I type in Java, I got Java is not recognized as an internal external command. If I type in Java C, I've got Java C is not recognized. Well, Java C is the JDK, Java is the JVM, which you might actually have Java. If you have just the regular old JVM, that's fine. You can leave it alone. You don't have to uninstall it. If you've got a version of Java on here and it's below, below what we're going to run into in a few minutes, then you're probably going to want to upgrade it. If so, don't uninstall it, just upgrade it. If you come up with this, then you're at the starting point where you don't have anything installed. And I kind of did this just to make sure I did not have anything installed. So I do not have Java installed in this virtual environment because I get a bad command or file name here. It's not recognized, which is good. I don't want it recognized. It's not installed yet. So we're going to follow in the steps. I'm going to open up a web browser. I'm going to use Internet Explorer. You can use anything you want for this. And I'm going to say first step number one, download and install the Java JDK. I'm just going to copy and paste this link into my web browser. And if I can find Windows again, there it is. And press return. And lo and behold, I go to the Oracle site. Maybe I can make this a little bit bigger here. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. What have I got? If I go to there, I'm just going to the basic. It's owned by Oracle now, if you haven't noticed. I'm just going to go to the basic site, and if I look in the Java SE, we want the SE version. We don't need the EE version. We want the SE version for this. And it appears that looks like we're up to 7. Wow, we've gone up a little bit, so it's a good thing. 7. Wow, the last one I had on here was 6. So as of this is December 2011. As of December 2011, the current version is this guy right here. Is what we want. You don't need the FX, the NetBeans. Do not. I wouldn't bother with NetBeans. Actually, I don't like it. But a lot of students do like it. So. If you have NetBeans and you want, or you don't have NetBeans and you want Java with NetBeans, here's the bundle here for it. This is the EE I was talking about. You don't need the EE for the Android class. So just install the Java JDK, and if you click on this little link right here, it'll take you to the download page. No, it'll give you a message. Let's see what happened here. Let me try that again. Okay. When all else fails, try it again. Real live demo when error messages happen beyond your control. Well, that worked. Okay, so I clicked on it again. It worked. You've got to make sure you accept the license agreement. I'm going to accept it. And I'm working on a Windows x86. This is not a 64-bit processor, it's a 32-bit, so I'm going to select this option right here to download this version right here. And I'm just going to press save, and it's going to save it to my desktop. So here's now where you can pause the video, go to the link, download it. We had a pretty fast connection this morning, so I think it looks like this is about 3 minutes on here. So I'm just going to let the video run. But you might find this part boring, so you can definitely pause or skip ahead on the video. Or if you're doing this simultaneously, I guess you can race with me and see if your download's going to finish before mine does. So let's see, we're about 13% or so. I don't need this window anymore. I can actually close this window here. Get ready for part 2. And as I look ahead for part 2, well, it looks like I have to install it. So I didn't put any instructions on my little how-to video here, but I'm going to demo it in a few minutes. When you install, use the JDK, the SE version. We did that. And we don't need to install the Java DB, which is the Java database. So when I get ready to install it, I'll have to remember I don't need that. I'm kind of a minimalist. I don't like to download. I don't like to install something unless I need it. I'm not going to use the database features, and you're not going to use it in the Android development, so you don't really need to do that either. So this is plugging away. Looks like it's 32% done. As I mentioned before, you can tune me out right now. Wait for a few minutes. It's almost done. Pause the video if you want. So I'm gonna, as I sit here and watch this, watch the clock tick. It's actually going pretty fast. It's not too bad. It's at 41% now. Let's see. After we get done downloading the JDK and installing that, we're gonna do a little configuration to our system. We're gonna add the Java bin to our path, and we're gonna basically run through the steps to doing that by going into the control panel, clicking on the system icon, going into the advanced button on the bottom of the screen, and I'll show you how to do that. After we do that, we're actually done with the Java part, and at that point we just have to test it. So I'm going to scroll up here so I'm on step number 2 when I go back to it. Meanwhile, 57%, we're almost done. 58%. It's actually going a lot faster than I anticipated, which is nice. Terrible part is, you know, sitting and waiting for something to download. Then you leave the room, you come back, and the download has failed. And an hour later, you realize, oh, I should have restarted this. So I sort of like to watch my downloads sometimes. That way, I can catch it when it fails, if it does fail. So. I got 70%. The boring part of the video. Okay. As it continues. I guess I could tell you jokes at this time, but don't really have any jokes. So, well, not today, I guess. Maybe I should think of some jokes. Let's see. 77%, 78%, 79. I'm not going to count it down. Well, once this installs, I'm going to show you a little shortcut that I actually like to do, which is probably not the recommended thing. I like to make things simple. So I usually rename the directory after the install happens so that I can add it to the path, and I can kind of sort of keep it generic without having to worry about all the long path names of all the version numbers that you get with Java. So I'll make sure I do that as well. 91, well, it looks like we're almost there. So, let's give it a few more minutes. 93%, 94. Hopefully yours is downloading. If yours does not download, I would pause the video, wait for yours to finish downloading, depending upon your internet speed. And this took, I want to say about 4 minutes, maybe. Haven't been watching the clock, really. Okay, so the download's complete. I'm going to select OK, and here's my little icon. I'm going to double-click on the icon, and hopefully I won't get any errors, and I don't. So I'm going to run it. It's kind of an old version of XP. This is Windows XP, by the way. You might be running it on a Windows 7 machine. If so, it's going to be very similar. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so You guys can kind of read the prompts here. Welcome to the install. Okay, this is the SE Development Kit 7, update number 1. Looks like we're very new on the 7, first update. Wizard's going to guide you through the install. Okay, click the next button. This is the part. So we got development tools, demos, and examples. We want the development tools. Do we need the public JRE? Why not? If this is version 7, most likely the JRE has been updated, so I'm going to keep that as well. Looks like the option for the Java database has been removed, which is kind of nice actually, because I didn't like that. Click on that. No, I don't have any. The database used to be on this screen. It's not on here anymore. So let's just go with the defaults, and I'll update that. Take that comment out, but you don't need to install the database. Perhaps if you've got a future one. Looks like, well, now that Java Sun is owned by Oracle, I would say that the database should probably be replaced with the Oracle database. So maybe that's what they did. Who knows? But Java used to have its own separate database engine that was installed with the JDK. That was what was referred to, and I was mentioning it was optional. You didn't have to install it, but it seems like it's not an option anymore, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're installing the classes, we're removing files. Oh, what do we have here? Destination folder. Oh, this looks good. Well, it looks like they simplified things as well. I'm going to go next. I'm just going to click on all the defaults. Copying files. I like the new screens actually. Looks like they upgraded the interface a bit, made it more colorful. The red for the Oracle, red and white. So I'm installing the JRE, which is the Java runtime environment, as well as the JDK. And project registration information, I'm not going to click on that. Instead, I'm going to look at this and say that the SE Development Kit 7 Update 1 was successfully installed. I'm going to click Finish. And lo and behold, hopefully I won't get an error message. Oh, I'm going to be taken to a website instead. Let's see what I got. Along with this nice little security warning. I'm not going to register it. I'm going to save that. Who knows, maybe I'll get some registration errors. So I'm going to close that window. Now I'm going to see what was actually installed. So what I'm going to do is kind of, because you don't get an icon, as you notice, here actually let me go back. You're not going to get anything here. In fact, if you go to the Start menu, Programs, I don't see anything for Java on here either. And this is like one of the most disconcerting parts of it, because it's like, wait, didn't I just install something? I'm not going to throw that away yet. I'm going to wait for a few minutes. Then I'm going to go to the Windows Explorer now. Make this a little bigger. And I'm going to go to My Computer. I'm going to go over to the local drive. And I'm going to look in Program Files. And I'm going to look in Java. And lo and behold, in Java, I've got, look at that, I've got the JRE and I've got the JDK 1.7.0, which is the version 7.1, update 1.7. So this is where I said I'm going to make things easier for myself. I'm going to rename this directory. And I'm going to rename it because I don't want to have to keep typing in JDK 1.1. So I'm just going to go like this and hit rename. And I'm just going to say it's the JDK. May not be recommended for programs that require a particular Java version number to be in the directory name. I don't know of any programs that require that, however. But all of the files that we're looking at in terms of the JDK are going to be in the bin directory. I go to the bin directory. Now I see Java. Here's the Java file. There should be a Java C in here as well. There's a Java C. So I might actually have this in my path already, but I'm going to take a look real quick to see what would happen right now if I were to just type in Java C in Java at a DOS prompt. Java's going to work. Java C is going to work too, but I have a strange feeling I've already added this to my path. What I did was a few minutes ago is I opened up the DOS window and I typed in Java. And I got this stuff instead of bad command or file name in Java C. I got this stuff. So looks like things have been installed. You might actually get an error message when you do that, because there's a step we have to do. And in fact, I may have left it from the last time I had this installed, the last time I've done these videos. And the step was to add this directory to the path to make it so that the command works from anywhere outside a Java bin. So just to review a little bit, just so you know what I'm talking about here, just in case I've gone too fast, I'm in the Program Files directory and in a subdirectory called Java, and I've got two things in here. I've got the JDK, which is the Java Development Kit, which is my primary interest. In the bin directory, which is a subdirectory of the JDK, I've got those Java, here it is, and the Java C file. We also have Java doc and all of the Java, Java RMI is in here too, this is nice. All of the Java stuff that we need to work with. And it looks like, you know what, it installed the database for me. Oh well, looks like I have it whether I wanted it or not. It didn't give me an option to remove it. And there's a Java JRE also installed for that version. But if you have this, that means the program installed correctly. And rename that to JDK and you'll see why in a few minutes. So the step number 2 in the Java install is to add Java bin to your path. And we're going to choose the Start, Settings, Control Panel, then double click on System, go into the Advanced tab, and then click on Environment Variable button, and then add it to the lower box where we're going to see System Variables. So I know it's kind of fast. Let me show you how to do it. I'm going to Start menu, and I'm going to go to Control Panel. Here's my Control Panel. It might be different for Windows 7 as you are probably going to experience. I'm going to double click on the System icon, and I'm going to go into the Advanced tab here. And in the Advanced tab, I'm going to have Environment Variables right there on the bottom. You know, they should make it a little bit bigger. In fact, you know, Windows 7 is going to be in a different location for you anyway. But if you're on a Windows XP machine, it's in the Advanced. It's still going to be in System, and it's still going to be in the Control Panel on Windows 7, I believe. I'm going to hit on Environment Variables. And then in the lower box here, if I click on Path, and Path is the key here, we've got some other stuff in here, path, called path, you know, extensions and processors and temp and stuff like that. We don't actually have to add a class path either for the tools that we're working with. All we have to do is double click on this one, and yeah, lo and behold, it is in here. So I've got Program Files, Java, JDK, bin in my path already. And that's why I renamed that to JDK. But this is what you're adding to your path. You have to make sure, it doesn't have to be the last item, but it has to be in the path. If it is, if the last item is something like, what did I do? I have the Android tools in here too, it looks like. Oh, I do. You've got to separate each one of the items with a semicolon. That is a semicolon, although it looks like a if I made it a little smaller, I might be able to tell the difference. It looks like a colon, but that's a semicolon. So you have a semicolon in there, and you go see colon / program files, Java JDK / bin. If you want to at this point, I guess you could edit all at once and add the Android tools in here too. If you do that, you're going to have C : Android / tools / you're going to add that into the path as well. I have those two items in here from the last time. Although I uninstalled everything, I left the path alone, it looks like. If you haven't never installed it before, you don't have it in your path. If you had it previously installed on your computer, you might still have the path set correctly. But go ahead and, it's not a bad idea to verify it, because it might be set to an older version of Java, if you had an older version on there. But I renamed the JDK directory to the JDK, so there's only going to be one variable in my path here for the JDK. Okay, so after you've verified that, press on OK, and we're going to go back here, and then press on OK again, and then OK again, and then close this window, and essentially we can close this window. And if you're smart, you're probably going to want to verify it. So if last time you came up to this window when you typed in Java C or Java, if you had an error message, or if you still had that unrecognizable command, you should be looking at this right now. So type in Java C, and I'm going to get the parameters. If I've done that, I'm halfway there because now I have Java installed. So I'm going to exit out of this window. I'm going to throw this one away because I'm a minimalist. I don't like garbage on my computer. So I've thrown that one away. And now I'm going to go back and proceed forward. So I just did step number 1, which was downloading and installing the Java. And I just did step number 2. I added Java bin to my path. Well, it was already there. If you are Still doing step number 2. Pause the video and focus on step number 2 right now and finish this step because you're going to need this working. You don't have to reboot the computer after you have added it to your path, but it's not a bad idea actually. In fact, every time you install anything, it's not a bad idea to reboot the computer. But I'm not going to reboot mine because I'm lazy. And I don't seem to have a problem at this point. So you add a semicolon at the end of the path and you put in the new stuff. So this is what you're going to put in. So we did step number 3 as well. We tested to see if the Java was installed correctly. It was. A DOS prompt, we typed in Java C and we got the usage information. So now we're on to step number 4, the most exciting part of the install, downloading and configuring the Android SDK. So I got another link, and I'm going to purposely use these links instead of my bookmarks because I want to make sure the links work. As of October of 2011, we were up to the SDK version 4. So this is the one we're going to focus on. I'm going to open up my Internet Explorer again. I'm going to paste in here that link from the lecture. And what do I have in here? I've got Java Android 4.0 platform. Very nice, very nice. And I'd like to download it. So what I'm going to look for is the download link. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. The visually impaired on YouTube. There we go. So up there in the left-hand corner it says Android Sdk Starter Package. Alright, so this is going to give us a downloadable SDK components. Adding this, adding that. I'm going to go through these instructions for you so you don't really have to worry about it. But what we want to do is download. And so if I click on that download button, I see the download, the Android SDK on the left-hand part of the screen. I'm on a Windows box. So and what you're going to download here, well, let's see. Oh, look at brand new. Wow, last time I did this, they had a zip version of it, and they have a recommended. No, this is a new one here. That's an executable version of it. I'm gonna actually not do the recommended one because recommended one I don't trust the Windows installers, and I'm used to it being in a zip file. And you just take the zip file, you unzip, and you add it to the path and add it to your Explorer window, and you change the path. So I'm gonna select this option here, and I'm gonna download this SDK version that's in a zip file, and I'm just gonna take and add it to my desktop. You may select, if you'd like, the exe option and see what that does, but I'm not a huge fan of automation. I'd rather do it myself. And as this is downloading, I'm going to take a look at bottom here and see what this is all about. Android, the zip's now downloading. Okay. And instructions don't look like they've changed much since the last version of this. Okay. My instructions are going to be working with the zip file. You may try the Windows file. If you do that, you might be able to skip some of the steps in my install. Yeah, the Mac is going to be a zip file as well, it appears. So it's going to be more consistent if I stick with the zip. So I think they made it because people didn't like to unzip files. Who knows? I'm going to minimize the screen because I can't. Oh, there's my download right there. I'm at 62%. See, that seems pretty small. So what are my instructions going to say? Well, if I'm downloading the zip file, which I've just done, you're going to unzip the Android API into any directory that you're going to want. And then you're going to add the Android tools directory to your path, just like we did in step number 2. And then we're going to test it by typing in from a DOS prompt, Android, and see if a GUI shows up. Shows to the screen. So we're on step number 4. We're downloading and we're installing the Android SDK version 4. And as of the making of this video, this is December 2011, so October, November, December, a couple months old. We've got fresh, hot off the presses, the 4.0. Probably going to work with tablets as well as the phones, is what I'm thinking. This is my first exposure to the 4.0 version. I was working with a previous version last time. So it'll be interesting to see what the changes are. One obvious change already was that exe file option for the install. But we're downloading the API in terms of the zip file, so we're going to need to unzip it, And then we're going to have to add the Android tools directory to the path. As you've seen before, it was actually already added. So go back here and see what's going on. Download complete. So I'm going to go OK. Now I'm going to do a simple unzip. You might have a different compression utility on your computer. I'm just going to use the old Windows XP zip utility by just going extract all. You could have a different version. It doesn't really matter what you unzip it with. And it's going to unzip it and put it on my desktop here. And what I'm going to get is this file for the SDK Windows. Oops, I'm just going to put it out here because it's a folder inside of a folder, actually. Minus this out a little bit here so we can see what we're doing here. Yeah, I've got a folder inside of a folder, so I'm going to copy it out here. What is this? This is the one I want, so I'm going to throw this one away. Actually, I can throw the zip file away too. So I've thrown everything away. Now I have the uncompressed folder, and in the folder I have a tools directory, Sdk Manager. This is the contents inside of the file that I have unzipped. So this is where I said I'm going to change this name here. The name of the file is Android Sdk. The name of the directory is Android Sdk Windows. I'm going to take and change this and just call it Android. And in this folder, I pulled out the other folder that was inside the original folder. Well, you know, when they zip stuff, you get a folder inside of a folder. What you really want is the Android folder that's got the tools subdirectory. The tools subdirectory is the one that's going to have all of the stuff that you're going to need to use. So we're going to add the tools subdirectory to the path, actually. Looks like they've kept the AVG Manager. I'll go over that in a few minutes. And the Sdk Manager, I'll go over that in a few minutes. But now I have tools here, which is nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put this directory into my Java folder. So I make those a little smaller so I can find the Windows Start menu here. So I'm going back to Windows Start. I'm going to go to the Explorer. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to find my program files, Java, and I could stick Android in here if I wanted to, or I could stick it maybe in program files along with everything else. I think I'll stick it in program files actually, so I can tell that it's been installed. So I'm going to find it again. I think I put it on the desktop somewhere. Here it is. Move it over here so you can see it all in one pane. There we go. A little bigger again. So I'm just going to drag and drop, I guess. So I'm going to take this here. I'm going to program files out here. And let's see. Okay, good. Yeah, this view is bothering me. I'm going to change the view to details. There we go. I like that better. This is smaller so I can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to take the Android directory and I'm just going to drag it out here, move it out here. So now it should show up in the list underneath here. Here it is, Android right here. So I've got it under program files. I've got Android, and then I've got the tools directory. I got everything I need right here. So now, and let me just make sure actually. So I'm going to go into program files. I'm going to make sure it's in my path correctly because I can't remember if I put it in the Android directory or if I put it under Java last time I did this. So this is a good test. So we have to do the same thing we did with Java. Actually, we have to take and add the Android tools directory to our environment variable. So I'm going into Settings, Control Panel. I'm going to click on the System icon. And I've gotten to the Control Panel here. Double clicking on System. In the System window, I'm going to click on the Advanced tab. I'm going to go to the bottom where it says Environment Variables. Click on that. I'm going to find the path. Here's the path. Click on Edit or double click on it. And let's see where I put it actually. Oh, I didn't put it under program files, so I'm going to make sure I can change this here. I put it under C:\Android\tools. So I'm going to make this sure this path is correct then. Yeah, I like to capitalize stuff too, so I'm going to make this capital. C:\program files\Android\tools. And then I put a semicolon at the end. It can happen. You can put it after Java. You can put it before Java. Not quite sure how I guess last time I downloaded the Android stuff first, maybe, and I put in Java second. Doesn't matter what order, as long as it appears in the path, it'll be just fine. So at this point, I'm going to go OK. And so if I look at it, I'm going to have both under Program Files, Java, JDK, bin, and I have also Program Files, Android Tools in my path, and the rest of the stuff in my path. Do not remove the rest of the stuff in your path, just add the new information at the end of the path, which I've done. If you remove everything in the path, some of your other programs aren't going to work. So I'm going to press on OK, I'm going to press on OK, and this will actually be a better test than the Java because I changed the location. It's actually in a new location. So let's see if the instructions work for the test. This is under the assumption that we don't need this window anymore. Under the assumption that nothing has changed between the versions. Empty this trash out. So clean things up as I go along. So I'm going to open up a DOS prompt now, and I'm going to go back to my instructions to see, well, how am I supposed to test this? Well, so let's take a look here. If I go back to the instructions are going to say we've downloaded the JDK, or excuse me, the SDK for Android. We've unzipped it. We've copied it into the directory, any directory. We added the tools directory to our path. And here's an example of if you want to put it under Java, Android. It doesn't really matter where you put it, by the way. Now we're going to test the path with exiting into DOS and typing in Android, and a GUI should appear. Let's see what happens. Let's see if a GUI appears. So I've got an empty DOS prompt here, and I'm going to type in Android. Did I spell that right? Oh, well, I didn't get a GUI this time. Instead, or actually, let me give it a few minutes. I might get the GUI. Instead, what I have is looks like a command line and Java, Android, Java. Oh, interesting. Okay, good. This is, you're not going to get a GUI. In fact, if you type in Android, you're going to get the command statements. It's now a command. In the past, they had a little GUI that showed up. I believe it's the manager. If you go into here, you can test the GUI a couple of different ways, actually. I'm going to go back into the directory here and show you what I'm talking about. In what I just ran was Android. What the test was basically to see if these files were accessible. In Tools, there's a program in here called, well, it's an android.bat file now is what it is. In the old days, it used to open up a GUI. Now it just gives you the command line tool. That's the file that I just ran from DOS, and it appeared to work, which means the path is set up correctly. I can access it from a different directory outside of the Android directory. If I go in here, I'm going to see a bunch of tools in the platform directory. Actually, I'm going to see it right here. I'm going to see the Sdk Manager. If I double click on that, it's going to be a program that I'm going to run, and it's going to bring up a GUI, and this is the GUI, actually, that you're going to expect to see. But let's not run the Sdk Manager yet, because we can run this from Eclipse and configure things automatically for us. So I'm going to press OK on that, get rid of it, but make sure that both of these items actually run. If you're getting error messages, and this is the Android Virtual Device Manager, we're going to see that later as well. It's just going to open up a GUI and allow you to make configuration changes. So the Android tools appear to be working on my computer. So I can pretty much have confidence and say that I'm done installing the Android operating environment, especially when I typed in Android in that batch file. Actually, the batch file looks like it's running Java, actually, but I was able to get at it, so I will assume that it is working. So I'm going to go back and now work on my next step. The next step is to install Eclipse. Oh no, it's only for Android. Well, okay. Looks like we've broken it out in a couple. I broke it out in a couple different sections. We're going to install the Sdk packages for Android first, and then I'm going to do Eclipse second. I rewrote this recently, and I just caught myself on that. So The better order is to install the SDK packages for Android. So in step number 8, so step number 7, I've tested my path by typing in Android, and the GUI appeared. I'm going to change this for the next time. Say and a GUI or some DOS output should appear. In the older version, the GUI appeared, and this version, DOS output appears. So we can verify that and make sure that that step actually worked correctly. Now we're going to install the SDK packages. So we're going to double click on the Sdk Manager. Well, that's what I just had out a few minutes ago. Click on Install on the default sections, and the items will be downloaded from the internet. So you need a connection for this in order for it to work. Download test takes some time, approximately an hour. Well, let's see. Let's see how long this is actually going to take. So we're going to go back to the Sdk Manager and click on Install on the default sections. So that means let me try something here real quick. Sdk Manager. Yeah, okay, that's not going to work. Alright, I thought maybe I could do it from a DOS prompt. There's probably a shortcut you could probably take from it. So I'm going to just go back in and find it. Make this bigger so you guys can see it. Start menu, Explore. Let's go back where we were a few minutes ago. Go into Program Files, Android. We want to run this guy right here, Sdk Manager.exe. So I'm going to run that. It's an old Windows message. We get the GUI here. And nothing appears to be installed. Not installed, not installed. So status here says not installed on a bunch of this stuff here, but the Android tools are, but we need the platform. So I'm going to take and click on that button there. You know what? To be on the safe side, because I don't know what I'm going to be using for most of my demos, I'm going to go backward compatibility as well. I'm just going to install everything. I'm going to click on all these boxes here, and 41 packages. This might actually take a while, so we'll see how long it takes. I might have to pause the video because it's going to be too boring for you guys to watch this. But what I've done is just to be safe, I'm just going to, I've clicked on everything. I've clicked on everything possible here, and the status is going to be uninstalled. So put that back so you can kind of see that. What we really want is the current 4.0, but sometimes we might see some examples on the internet that are using a current API, a 3.2 API, which a lot of them are out there actually are using 3.2. If I install the 3.2, that means I can run those types of projects as well. So I'm going to click on this button here. It says install. It's supposed to say install 41 packages. And update install. Okay, this is good. API level. Okay, this is good. So I click that, and I have to accept, looks like I have to accept accept all. I'm just going to click on accept all here, which means I'm going to accept agreements to download everything. And I pressed on install. And on the bottom of the screen, you can kind of see the status indicator. The status indicator is downloading SDK platform tools. 38%, 41%. Okay, this is going to take some time. Just the way that it's running right now. The fact that the last time I did this, and now what I'm looking at now is this bottom of the screen here where it says downloading. I'm actually downloading about half a dozen APIs. Ooh, something killed here. Run manually if needed. Okay. Looks like I'm getting some static some status information from the log. I'm going to close the log here. If you see those little windows pop up, maybe it is a good thing that I'm sitting on this window for a few minutes. If you see those little windows popped up, it means that perhaps one of the installs failed. That one actually failed. It was probably a depreciated library or something. It looked like it was something with the ADB. So, just a heads up on that. And that was one of the older APIs, actually. That was one of the original ones down here. I didn't have to go back that far when I clicked on these guys down here, but I did. And so some of that stuff's going to be outdated. Maybe it's not going to be supported anymore. And so you might get some of those little pop-up screens with warning messages. And that warning, I didn't leave it up long enough, but it warned me about something that didn't download correctly, and it said something in red about manually installing it. So I'll just keep that in the back of my mind, and it was at the beginning, so it was probably like 1.0 or something like that. So as you can see on the bottom of the screen, it says 4 minutes left. It's like for one package. So, and I've got, as I was mentioning before, I like half a dozen of these packages downloading, and the 4s are actually kind of big. So I'm going to pause the video at this point and call this one part 1, and then, because this is going to take an hour. It may even take more than an hour to download, actually. So at this point, I'm going to pause the video and wait until yours is completely downloaded, which means you're going to have to sit for like an hour or so patiently. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try patiently without touching anything so I can not mess anything up. And then when mine's done, I'm going to come back and start part 2 of this install video sequence. And we will take it further from there. So come back when your download is done and start part 2, and then we'll be installing Eclipse, and then we'll be installing the Android inside of Eclipse, and then we'll be running Hello World to test it out. Okay, time for a break for me and a break for you.